similar event, but with our PhD colleagues,
Yeah.
because I've learned a lot about my colleagues that I've been working with for 3 years, a lot more within the last 2 days, on a professional and personal level, and I think it will start to form some of those relationships rather than assume everything's sort of grey over there and rosy over here and vice versa.
And I suspect over the course of the next few months, what will fall out of a lot of it is opportunity to do that. So I think if you go back to to my briefing that went out to staff a couple of weeks ago, was really trying to infuse our staff to engage with those opportunities. So your manager will be, no doubt your manager will be talking to you about opportunities to push this stuff along, and we really hope that you want to be part of that. And I think that's that constant message of encouragement. Yeah, so the stock answer for all of this stuff has to be, yes, of course you can. Yeah, and that's what we've got to create the space to be able to allow people to do that. And then they will cross-pollinate, they will see that the differences are not that great, they will worry a lot less, they'll understand more about what matters to me. And I think, Angie will come back to that all the time, in that it only starts being real when people start worrying about how's this going to affect me. But these opportunities for collaborative working are going to be those that really start to describe what that looks like. And I think there's some really fruitful areas, so particularly across physical health and acute care pathway. I think that's a really big one for a start. But there are others as well, and there's big opportunities about children and young people's services. I've already mentioned about pharmacy integration. And there's a real willingness, I think, from PHMT to start exporting a lot of the services that they have, got their ology services, and trying to push those into a community environment. So I think, again, once we start seeing things like that, there'll be more trust around it as well. Yeah.
So, what considerations have been put into this in regards to how it fits with the Service Improvement Board work that's going on?
I think they're sort of slightly different questions, really. So the Service Improvement Board is very much there to drive performance improvement in certain aspects in certain pathways. Well, to be honest, in one pathway.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, myself and our leadership team are responsible for all of our services.
Okay, so where does this sit then? Because at the moment, and I describe it very much as being a passenger in that process, but that process dominates just about everything that I touch at the moment. So whilst I appreciate the vision, I understand it and I'm completely behind it.
Yeah.
The opportunity to implement is next to non-existent at the moment. I've got a very pressured workforce who are inundated with change on a nearly hourly basis, who would otherwise probably be really supportive of this, but I'm cautious of the expectations of presenting something that is, that people are already ahead of the game. They already know that there's a bigger integration coming. There's already the possibility of some of this change being lost within that change. But then also there's a level of we can't implement change ourselves at the moment until we know the bigger picture of the outcomes of the improvement board, of which we have very little influence on. I'm trying to keep it as focused as possible, not wanting to make myself sound like an idiot.
I mean, no, but I mean, the drain of that particular pathway and that particular body on technical info, analysis, and all of that is massive, and it drains the capacity for other change management within the organisation. Yeah?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So part of that, I think, is because we've not yet got to a position of trust. So we've now, the System Improvement Board has stepped down to monthly because of some sequential changes that occurred in Q3. That improvement in performance hasn't been carried on. I think the single face from Derriford and Livewell helps. because instead of people chucking stones at each other and trying to go, well, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, and then having to employ a lot of activity to support that argument, I think that helps. But there's a big gap in capacity as well, and I think, you know, sooner or later we're going to have to do something about that, because we can't hope to do all of this whilst that pressure is still there. I suppose what I'm trying to convey is, from my point of view, that is only one of our pathways.
Yeah.
So from a senior management point of view, all of my focus, and that's why my blank expression is, because all of my focus is not on that.
No, I know.
So all of my focus is on everything that's in the PPP. Because if it's not in the PPP, well, if it's important, it's in there. It has to be in there. And all the benchmarking stuff and everything else that's in there, for us to properly understand our services, so we know where to focus, that real intelligence, that deep dive intelligence, that is, that's what I worry about, all of it, not just that. And all they're interested in is that.
Yeah.
I think for me, moving on from the system improvement board, obviously my team are really involved in the delivery programmes that have come from that, and it's about how we manage the expectations of the Director of Integration, SIB, with our internal expectations. So that's where I find myself. I find myself not being in a position where I can make decisions or offer influence, because there are different expectations and delivery requirements from internally within our organisation to the delivery programme. So whilst the SIB might have been set down to monthly, for us from a delivery programme, of which we've got 5, we're meeting 2 weekly. You know, my life is being driven by that delivery programme, but I'm actually a community education services manager for a lot more services than those that are now, you know, the old 80-20 rule. And it's about, for me, it's about how I can influence and what support I can expect internally and externally to make sure that we do get that balance, and how we can support our teams and our colleagues in Derriford to understand there's more to live well than just the hospital. And at the moment, I'm not able to get that message across in any venue. And certainly the expectations for me and the team are around what we've got to achieve at the hospital, how we've got to support there. So it does feel really off balance and off kilter at the moment, and I think, you know, all of the teams would say that they feel that we're reacting to the hospital, and actually how's that going to work going forward if we're integrated? Where's our even footing? Where's our partnership?
So a couple of things. Partly, I'm going to come back to this, because actually it wasn't written down anywhere. What did we do? All we had was a website with 76 services on, but not a way of, this is how it hangs together and this is the purpose of it all. You know, and actually some of it there isn't a purpose to, because some of it's been opportunity. Says, oh, we'll have a bit of that, we'll have a bit of that. Nobody else can find someone else to run that, so go on, can you? Yeah, go on then. And there is a bit of that, about that sort of cut and shut nature of the organisation. So being able to describe it in a cohesive role in terms of a why has got to be where we start from. And again, then, what's that external projection? So it is that permission that if somebody doesn't know, well, what on earth, what do you do about this? Have a look at that, and it can tell you. And that's the same for all of us. So I think having that unified external projection is really important, so people understand where we're at. On a more granular level, though, Sarah, I think that the CQC system review in December highlighted a few really key opportunities that we can't let go. And by the 30th of April, we've got to submit detailed plans for winter 18-19 about what we're going to do. Yeah. Now, I've seen three organisations' winter plans over the course of the last 5 years and been part of them. And I think what our winter plan's like here is it's very busy. I like what we do, and ostensibly our winter plan should be about one thing, and that's what can we stop doing in order that we can put more priority and more capacity and capability where we need to apply it. So that's it. It's only what can we stop doing, because the rest of it we should be doing 24/7, 365. We should be doing it all the time if there are systematic improvements. And we have to get to a point where our system is de-escalated. So our projection, and Sarah will be part of pulling this together, but our projection is going to be for winter planning is that we've got to do more as business as usual. So our business as usual has to take everything that we've done in escalation and standardise it and make it normal so that we've got capability and capacity all the time. And then it's a question of just identifying, okay, when certain criteria are met, we stop doing that. And that'll give us that 10% extra capacity to be able to respond. So it is about, it's not about busy. It's actually in the times of crisis we've got to recognise what we don't do more than anything else. So all of that comes back to a de-escalated system which is less reactive and less responsive in that sort of way because the normal way of doing things will be better. So hopefully that means not everyone has to drop everything as soon as somebody from the System Improvement Board says, ugh. Yeah. Oh, Sam, you want to, sorry.
Yeah, mine was more around whether there's going to be a shared set of values and behaviours across the organisation, because developing them certainly is something that could drive in terms of the trust, in terms of responsibility and co-production. So I didn't know whether, because there's no specific values here, and I'm wondering if I'll deliver it, because obviously the aim or aspiration is to develop shared, which we all hold, are responsible to hold those values. So just wondered if that was...
So I think there's it wasn't an explicit decision at the time not to go with that, but it's a very NHS way of having, you know, visions, values, etc., and having it in a standard order. And again, going back to all of our members of staff and do they understand it, I think sometimes those words can be a little bit, what's the mean? What's the difference between an objective and a, you know, and actually it becomes rather a technical thing. So what we wanted to try and do was write it in language that everybody got, rather than...
I think, because when I work for some commercial organisations, a lot of the time, you know, the PDP is behaviour driven, so if it's behaviour driven, then actually that leads to culture shift. So in terms of trying to merge two organisations to work, sometimes that's, you know, could be successful. And it's just
so we will have an overlay. So as part of the integration plan, all of this stuff, you know, what is this organisation all about? What does it stand for? What's it trying to achieve? And what is this one? And then it's that overlay, and it's pull out this commonality, and it's have that challenging conversation about, you know, do we have our voice or their voice, and whatever, and those practical things. But it's even, you know, it's a discussion about whose hashtag do we use on Twitter. You know, is it one big team or our team or whatever team or whatever. So, you know, some of those discussions are really, really granular. But I think you're absolutely right. It's about doing this for the entirety of it. But I think that's where I go back to Anne's response, which was, oh, well, it just makes sense, doesn't it? And if that's what the head of that organisation is coming back to us with, I think we're pushing at an open door about trying to do this stuff. So,
just picking up on the conversation so about the winter plan and that kind of thing. And it comes back to some of the things we were talking about yesterday, particularly some things that we felt not been so good at around kind of the organisation having courage of its convictions. And so for me, in terms of that winter plan, I think we need to stand up and make it heard around the community aspect of that plan, and kind of say, well, escalation doesn't stop at the point you've got your beds back, David, because at that point we've got 11, 12, however many people in the 45 LCC beds, because we can't get them out for dom care. We've got the social workers with a backlog of people in the D2 beds. That is all part of escalation, and just because it's not impacting on the acute delayed transfers of care, we need to be that voice to say, it will only back up again. It will come back unless we recognise that it is truly the whole system, not trying to solve a problem in a particular area in that pathway.
So thinking about the winter plan, so the submission we've got to do by the 30th of April includes costings and outcomes for the key bits of work. So, so whether or not it's with social work, you know, so in terms of technical stuff, or whether or not it's particularly about children and young people services and admission avoidance there, whether or not it's about liaison psychiatry and building capacity to be able to help things. There's a whole load of things that will need to be in there. Ostensibly, there's no money. That's what they're saying at the moment. There is no money for winter planning for 18-19. Part of the chaos that's happened this year is there was no money, there's no money. Oh, here you go. We've got to spend it by tomorrow.
And I think,
You know, this chaotic NHS we're doing
I
stuff.
think that's the other thing I was going to kind of pick up with the link with what we were discussing yesterday. It was something around that organisational pride, code of convictions, kind of willingness to really stand up and not move on things that we think we've been really successful at. And one of the examples, which was interesting for me, coming from a finance background, that very loudly operational colleagues were saying, something we're really proud about is the fact that we have delivered a surplus, or we've been able to facilitate change in services whilst balancing our budget. And we know that that's a very different environment where we're going, merging with an organisation with a £40 million deficit, and how do we protect that? And I think it was that thing of if you're in a certain situation, that kind of that ability to think differently, that ownership, that empowerment of staff, all of those really positive things have delivered on that goal. And how do we kind of say to partners, we've got some really great stuff that we've done as well, and how do you learn from us?
So I think that is, you know, we talked about how do we turn this into something that, this is what we're going to do about it, and this is what we did about it. So I think that's about that. I think it's about putting out a simple plan with some very clear deliverables, which we hold ourselves to account, and we publicise and we share, and that we do that as well.
Because I think the danger is, the organisation's too big to fail, the money always comes, in the same way with the rental plan, and it's kind of after the event, and over time that gets lost, and I think it would just be a real shame that you've got that kind of ownership. But it's not just about the money, I think it's the creativity that it drives as well.
Yeah, I think that the money's a difficult one because, you know, if you, so we do our surplus, we make sure we balance the books at the end of the year, you know, so with good accounting and good management. The converse view in other places is that we just have been given more too much money than they were being given to do the same thing. You know, and actually that's one of those discussions, those arguments that there is no right or wrong answer to, and actually we probably just have to accept that different people have got different opinions about it. But all we can do is do our jobs right.
The national benchmarking shows that we provide very good care at a very low cost compared to national services.
I know, but they know that. So, you know what I mean, there comes a point at, I think we do have to be really good at telling people what we're good at, but we also, once you've said that 26 times, we change tack a little bit.
I guess it's more about how we maintain it, how we protect it.
Chris?
So can I just ask, as an opportunity for this process and this leadership course and the strategy, when we're talking about presenting back to a board with some ideas and some projects, would it be possible to invite Anne James, Phil Hughes, Primary Care to be part of that board, so that when we're looking to move things forward, so if they're integrated projects, they're buying into them at the early stage as well, so we can demonstrate actually we're starting that journey of integration now, not waiting for April, and they're buying into that and part of that process?
I think so. I mean, I think we've got presentations as board as part of the plan, and I think what we have to think about is how we collate this almost like an ideation platform, you know, so that we've got something that's ongoing where there's a repository of work as it's developed. It's almost like a virtual poster campaign or something that just keeps us all, so everybody's aware of all of this stuff all the time. Because I think those touch points with boards they're all well and good, but actually it's when do you need enablers, when do you need people to unblock things, when do you need to come and have a talk with us about stuff. It shouldn't be just at those predefined touch points.
It's just that opportunity, I suppose, to have that feedback, which you would be doing with your colleagues at Derriford or in primary care, because you're having those conversations as you're developing your projects.
So if we follow this through, though, to its natural conclusion, none of you should be doing a project at all that doesn't have a direct interface with third-party organisations, carers, people, partners, stakeholders. They're all absolutely vital to anything that you do, because we are a coordinating organisation. So I would expect you to be able to be doing that all the time. And whether it's Anne, or whether it's Tracy, or whether it's Melanie, in terms of whichever organisation, but you need to be, or whether it's Robbie Naird, you know, it needs to be outward facing all the time, and I think that's what, as the senior leadership team, I think that's what we'd be expecting to see.
This is more of a workforce question rather than a strategic question, but something I'm asked a lot at team meetings at the moment is, come April next year, will I be an NHS employee, and if so, what does that mean to me?
Yes, you will, and your terms and conditions will be protected.
Fine, thank you.
And it's something that came up yesterday when we did our exercises, was about the well-being of our workforce, which is a very, very strong theme, and we know through staff surveys, and you know that's an area. I guess it's how we ensure that we're addressing the workforce's well-being needs, but also as we merge with another organisation, you know, it's part of a very different culture, how we might influence to improve the well-being across the wider workforce.
Sounds like a good project, doesn't it? There you go, sorted.
we know we're doing an awful lot, but what we don't have at the moment, although there are things coming through Quest, etc., but how we measure that, the impact of that, because feedback from staff still is that they are feeling quite overwhelmed, and I guess a linked theme is capacity. It's something that we talked about for ourselves as well as our workforce. You know, there is so much more that needs doing than we really have capacity to do.
And the reality of it is there is much more work to be done, as is at the moment, than the public purse can afford, both in terms of people, you know, even if we had the money to be able to do it, but we don't have the people to do it. So, you know, go back to Livewell digitally, yeah? It's not there about IT, it's there about releasing productivity, it's there about enabling people to care. So those are the things, that's why those things are there. They're about, you know, stopping someone having to come into the office in the morning for 15 or 20 minutes to check their emails, etc. Releases time to care. So there's lots of ways that we can create capacity, I think, but there is no, you know, that traditional statutory way of, let's write a letter to the commissioners and let's ask them for another £250,000 so that we can employ some more people to do some more work. We've got to get away from that, because it's simply not there in terms of the people in the Southwest or in terms of the money to be able to do it. So whilst I acknowledge that, I think, you know, this is the group that needs to think through those things. I think from a well-being point of view, I think we need to tie together a much more cohesive and collective offer to be able to help support people to make adjustments to their life that are better. You know, I don't expect everybody to do what Ian does and cycle to Saltash every day, you know, at all.
Especially if they don't live there.
But you know, so there are people want to do things in different ways, but you know, there are really good opportunities that we don't really make the most of, and so I would maybe come at it from a slightly different way about how do we create an environment which enables people to be healthy, whilst acknowledging that these are busy jobs as well.
Can I just ask, it's purely a selfish question, but how, in your view, how engaged is Devon County Council in this plan? And I appreciate they won't be as impacted upon, but actually, you know, the population 80,000 plus across Southampton, West Devon, that's where the social care is provided from, and it will be impacting on that population.
So, I don't think there's anything about the plan which is easy to do in Plymouth than in Devon, because it's not about, it doesn't look at the technical retained functions and stuff that can't be delegated from individual organisations. I think, you know, we need the best possible relationship with DCC that we can do. We know that you in particular, know the difficulties that they have, and we need to create the most functional environment for delivering care in Devon through collaboration with just a different social care provider. So
I think that's why I asked the question. So I'm aware of that, and I wondered because I don't see it on a day-to-day basis, how engaged are people at the top?
DCC.
So, you know, Tim Golby and colleagues like that, are they sort of is the communication there? I just don't get a sense that it's terribly joined up, but I might be wrong.
I think, well, okay, I think Plymouth City Council are a very strong voice, and I think it sometimes gets lost that 80,000 patients that we serve have nothing to do with Plymouth City Council in that way. So it's not a small number, but I think there is a general sense in the West that DCC need to be supported to be at the table more, so that we have a more balanced. So it's a quarter of our population. That's not an insignificant number of people. So I take your point. I think that's agree with you.
And I think if the children's tender, the big one, goes through as it is, then we'll be increasing that because
we will. It's a good opportunity.
The children's provision for Safe Hams and West Devon as well.
It is a good opportunity, and I think the challenges about adult social care budgets and things as well. The challenges for PCC and DCC are different. The level of exposure of them are different, and actually we are an organisation that needs to work across both. So I think that relationship needs to be better. Children and young people will help, but we could have the same conversation about Devon Partnership Trust, and how do we have that external stakeholder engagement that enables us to do this, which is build resilient communities, look after people, not patients. Do we do that best by running stuff or collaborating or whatever, and it'll be different in each case. But we absolutely, we are a coordinating organisation, and we absolutely have to have those balanced relationships. And when they don't exist, and when they're not strong enough, you need to call them out.
And I think it almost goes wider than that, just thinking about the New Care Model Partnership and the South Region Tier 4 stuff. We have quite a lot of influence, or a very well-known partner of that partnership, so it goes wider than just Devon with some of the services that we provide.
And just thinking about mental health, for any of those people who are thinking of focusing their change projects in mental health, I think after we've got a fairly fundamental meeting on the 17th of April, which is about relaunching of the, it's called the Mental Health Care Partnership, which used to be the Accountable Care System. I think we'd need to have a stock take after that, because I think things will be very different.
I think